Let's get started, everybody. I think we have a couple of stragglers that will be calling in, but I think most of you have joined the session. So let's start. I'm Sandra from DCHI, and a warm welcome to you all for our fun, but still, even with this virtual session, we would like to inspire you. We would like to create an opportunity where you can collaborate together and where you get to meet interesting people. Before I hand over to our focal point from Unicef, Marianne, there are a couple of practicalities I would like to share so you get the most out of this session. When you're not speaking to the group or not presenting, please mute your mic. But I guess most of you already have. The session will be recorded and the slide deck will be shared next week, so no need to take notes. And if you have a question during the presentation, please feel free to put your question in the chat. We hope to have some time available to answer a couple of them. And what else? I think that is it. I hope you enjoy the session, and over to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Sandra. Hi, everybody. Also on behalf of UNICEF, welcome to this Focal Point Café. My name is Marianne van der Helm, and I'm excited to co-host this first virtual cafe, so thank you all for joining. As a member of the DCHI Coalition, I'm proud of the agenda that we put together today. In my work at UNICEF, in the corporate partnerships team, I'm constantly busy creating partnerships around UNICEF's programs and goals to advocate for children's rights and improve the lives of the most vulnerable children and families everywhere in the world. And we do this in many different ways, through obtaining support from corporates and other organizations, through fundraising, advocacy, expertise sharing, co-creation of projects, and looking into organizations' own business practices. So some of the most beautiful, impactful, and innovative projects are because of cooperation with corporates, with governments and knowledge institutes, such as TNO. And you will hear some examples of those today, ranging from, I heard, flying food to children's health. And one of the projects UNICEF and TNO are endeavoring on is cleaning up the air of a Mongolian city to improve children's health. So I have to admit, working in partnerships is not always easy. Getting innovative projects and partnerships or coalitions running. So I'm eager to learn from all of you. What are your lessons learned? And what are some successful business models behind some of the partnerships that you have experienced? So Iskander from Fronteer has some fun ways to get us interactively learning from each other. But first, Mathilde Miedema and Rolinde Bakker will share with us their work on innovation for development, where TNO together with partners innovates in developing and emerging countries. So I'm super eager to hear from them. I'll give the floor to them now, and to all of you, have fun. Thanks.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Sandra and Marianne, for the opportunity to share more about our program this afternoon with you. I am Rolinde Bakker, and I'm working as the business developer at the unit Healthy Living and the Department of Child Health at TNO. And it's a privilege to tell you more about our program and the projects we are doing. Mathilde and I will take turns to share more about the program and insights. But first, I will start with an introduction of our organization, TNO. TNO is a Dutch innovation and research institute and an independent organization with more than 3,000 professionals. And with our knowledge and together with partners, we create new business and innovations with impact. For every €1 investment in TNO leads to €3 turnover in the private sector, and 1 job at TNO results in 4 jobs in the private sector, because we boost the entrepreneurship as in the Netherlands, but also international. If you look at TNO, we focus on transition or changes in 9 social teams. And like you see now, the program of innovation for development is in the middle, because the power of innovation lies in making smart connection across the boundaries of the various fields of science. That is what we are doing. So it's about health, it's about energy, it's about industry. We combine those knowledge in the projects that we are doing. Now, if we look further to our program, Innovation for Development, TNO innovates in developing and emerging countries. We do that best by a sound business model in health, nutrition, sustainable energy, ICT, construction, and circular economy. Our system innovation increase the perspective for vulnerable groups and create business propositions for local society and local markets. We do that in more than 11. We do that in 11 countries worldwide, mainly in Asia and Africa, and we frame the impact on the Sustainable Development Goals. We now running 15 projects with 64 partners, and we do that with all more than 50 experts within our organization. And we are still learning about business modeling in practice as well, like Marianne from UNICEF said in the beginning. If you look at our approach, we always start with a certain need or issue. So we look at the need of the individual, the collective of the country. Then we work always with partners from the private sector, NGOs, the government, and social impact investors. And then we look at the question, where can we add value together? We do that by starting a pilot and developing a business model. And in partnerships, then we launch products or services in the local market, and we realize integrated system innovations. We will show examples of our projects in the different stages you see in this approach. If you look at the business model, it's good to start with a clear definition. A business model describes how value is created, delivered, and captured. A business model is a static design of activities, and it consists of a value proposition, a value creation, a value capture. These parts are part of the projects that we are doing, and it's really helpful to use what you see on the right hand. It's the business model canvas. It incorporates the main elements of the business model, and it's really helpful when you are starting a project, but also during the project to monitoring the results and the effects. Before we go further to our examples, we want to exchange some questions with you in our poll, because we are really curious to hear more and learn more from your experience. So to start with the first question, it will come up in the screen in a minute. The question is, do you make use of a business model in current projects? So you can answer this question with yes, I do, or no, I don't. Please take some time to answer this one. I still see some answers coming, so I'll wait for a second. Okay. I see now the results of the first poll. You answered the question, do you make use of a business model in current projects? And I see that 18 participants answered with yes, so it's 64%, and no, I don't is 36%. Now I want to go to the next question, and the next question is, do you partner with the private sector in your projects? Please answer this question again? So the question is, do you partner with the private sector in your projects? I still see people answering the question. And maybe it's good to go to the results because of the time. And what we see in the results is that 59%, so 16 participants, they say yes, we do partner with the private sector on a regular basis. Of course, it depends on your project, but it's really interesting to learn from that. 7% said no, never. And 33% says, I only occasionally partner with the private sector. So this is quite different. So now I want to go to the last question. That's, do you want to make use of a business model in future projects? And we are interested in this question because of the agenda of this session today. So you have 30 seconds to answer this last question of the poll, and then we want to go further to exchange more about our first example. I see that our votings are coming in. Okay, I think it's good to end because I see that most of the results are in. If you look at the answers, then you see that 82% is interested to make use of a business model in the future projects. And that means that for 20% of the participants, it's interesting, I think, to share more about the use of the business models in practice. I now would like to give the word to Mathilde to share more about our experience and insights of using a business model in our flying food project.
Yes, thank you, Roelinde. I'm Mathilde Miedema, a colleague from Roelinde, also working at TNO. I'm business director of the Innovation for Development program, what Roelinde already explained. And one of our projects is called Flying Food. That's a public-private partnership for already 8 years now. And we are collaborating with the private sector from the Netherlands, from Kenya and Uganda and Rwanda to set up a value chain on crickets. And crickets are used for nutrition, for human nutrition, because they are very protein rich and very healthy. So the idea is to set up the value chain with crickets to create jobs, to create the employment, income generation, but also to create access to affordable proteins, especially for the most vulnerable groups. And in that sense, we contribute to 3 SDGs. Now, in this illustration, the full project is illustrated. But I think it's more convenient to see a movie to see how it works. So I have a 2-minute movie and I like to show that now. The sound.
Farming insects is a sustainable solution to feed the growing world population. Especially crickets are very healthy and people love to eat them. They have a very high protein content and contain many essential micronutrients. Setting up the cricket business in Africa is a great opportunity for local producers, food processors and retailers. The business model is sound. We're looking for more medium-sized entrepreneurs who want to start their cricket business in Africa. And we're looking for investors who can partner in scaling up this low-risk, high-impact value chain. Why you should jump into the cricket business? There is a huge market potential, especially for cricket flour. Crickets are clean and easy to produce. It requires relatively low investment capital and has a good payback time. Producing crickets is much more sustainable than producing cows, pigs or chickens. It has a lower carbon footprint and less land and water use. Most efficient is to eat the crickets as food and not feed them to fish or chickens. The Flying Food Consortium is a group of entrepreneurs and knowledge institutes from the Netherlands, extended with partners from Kenya and Uganda. Our aim is to improve the lives of 1 million people by creating jobs for youth and women and providing access to affordable, healthy food in Africa. Business with social impact. In the last 5 years, we've successfully introduced cricket farming in 2 African countries. If you become a member of the Flying Food family, you're in an international network of key players in the cricket business that can learn from each other. With our Flying Food method, new entrepreneurs and investors can kickstart their own business to boost crickets in Africa. Interested in joining this impactful business? Please contact us.
So this is an example how it can work with the private sector and with a public-private partnership. And here I also want to put emphasis on the business model, because the business model canvas that was used and presented by Rolinde is focused on one single partner. And if you act in a value chain, you act with multiple stakeholders, and it's good to have an integrated business model. We are working on that because that doesn't exist now. We work with the Nyenrode University with it and the Bob Innovation Center and with TU Enschede. And the idea is that we make a business model, a collaborative business model, where we combine the social and economical values. So I think in the business model canvas, which was presented earlier, it's only focused on economic value, and now social value is also very important. If you work on a collaborative business model, you also have the opportunity to jointly tackle external threats. If you act as a closed value chain, you can tackle all kinds of government issues, illnesses in agriculture, weather issues, and so on. It's more easy. And in that sense, it's important that you are aware of the resources, the activities, the incentives, and the influences of each of the partners. That are the 4 items that are written down at each stakeholder. And if we have insight why people are in and what is their incentive to act and what they contribute and what they expect from the partnership, it's very easy to move around, and if you encounter a problem, then you can solve it throughout the partnership. Also, for scaling, it's an idea and a good tool to use a collaborative business model, and it gives a lot of trust between the individual partners to align with each other and to be aware of the incentives why people are in. So this is already a long-term project with some examples and some learning, especially from the business modeling. Now we want to go to a project where TNO is already collaborating with the Dutch Relief Alliance, and Roeline will take it over.
Yes, the BOK project is a project we're doing in South Sudan. Because of conflict in South Sudan affects thousands of people, including many children. And humanitarian aid mainly focuses on basic needs. And the psychosocial support is usually for adults. It's the start of a project together with Help a Child and War Trauma Foundation. TNO developing a group intervention for young children, and the project is funded by the Innovation Fund of the Dutch Relief Alliance. The goal is supporting children and their parents in refugee camps, helping them cope with psychosocial traumas by making bodies from local materials. Using a colorful picture book, kids will learn to share their thoughts and feelings with their body and also with each other. And in our approach, we focus on three main parts. It's important that it's evidence-based. So we look at the further development and integration of proven scientific principles like storytelling. It is practice-orientated, so it's really important to look at the local context. It's low cost and it's building on the present knowledge and the limited resources. And at least it's customized. So we look at the folk tales and storytelling. It's really an important part of the African culture. We will train community facilitators and support them during the group session so that they can apply the BOP intervention. And from the beginning, children, parents, other caregivers and community facilitators will help to diagnose problems, develop solutions, and reflect on try out. So it's really a co-creation in practice during the project. And TNO will set up learning cycles for the development and evaluation of this project. And we hope to learn from it so we can expand it to other countries in the near future. Mathilde will take over to exchange our last project, and I just want to say that you still can keep asking questions in our chat, because on the end we have some short time to answer those questions.
The last project where I want to put emphasis up is our project UNICEF, and Marianne told it already a bit at the beginning of the meeting. It's all about Mongolia and air pollution and an approach to improve the maternal and child health. The main issue for air pollution is the situation in the communities in the GERS, and especially the cooking and the heating is on charcoal and causing air pollution. So the idea is to start step by step to a system innovation, and we start with 100 households, and we will increase to a bigger approach. So we first will work on smart energy technologies, especially on cooling, heating and insulation. If we can shift from coal to sun and hydro, it's very easy. And TNO has a lot of expertise around to choose the best technology that is already available. And also we have to handle a business model here for the suppliers who are serving their technologies for the communities. On the other hand, we work on meso level. We monitor the air pollution, but also the health and the health services, and we improve there. And if that's working for one city, we can do it with the municipality here and also increase countrywide. And then we have to scale up the strategy with the technologies and also the monitoring, but also embed our approach in the policies. And here on the micro, meso and macro level, on all those levels, we handle different business models. And I think it are always collaborative business models. So this is also one of the examples, especially on sustainable energy, where you can use this approach as well. This was the last and the third and last example of projects that we are working on. I think the main message consists of 4 points. That you always have to be market-driven. There must be an issue and have insights in the need of the individuals. Build partnerships that are linked in the system innovation, that have a stake over there and be aware of their incentives, make them clear. Develop system innovation. I think start small but think big, and I think the system innovation, you have to define that as well, and with the boundaries, and always make use of business model. I think when you use business model, you know who's in charge and you know who's responsible, and without a financial business model, your project is not sustainable. This is the end of our presentation. So I will hand it over to Sandra.
Yeah, I see that there are, Mathilde, that there are questions in the chat. I think there we can answer those 2 questions, because the first one is from Richard Koken, and his question is, in the business canvas model, can you explain why you made a difference between the beneficiaries and the customers? And that is part of the collaborative business model, Mathilde, that you explained. Can you answer this question?
I think it depends. If the beneficiaries also are consumers, and I think that's most of the time, then you have to incorporate them in your business model, because they will buy the new service that will improve their lives. If it's just a donation, then the beneficiaries don't have to be included over there. Is that an answer on your question?
Yes, well, it's funny to see that the donations were related to NGOs only, but that's we are also trying to work, of course, with business models as NGOs. So it's not only about beneficiaries, but also about customers within our models. Yeah. And here there was a really distinction between NGOs and distributors, the distributors. But the answer is clear. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Okay, Richard, thank you very much. I see more questions coming. I just, because of the time, I want to answer one more. It's a question from Jody. He's asking, are these solutions driven from the bottom up, or is a solution determined and then rolled out across key areas? Maybe I can answer this one, because it just depends on the intervention, and it's depending on the need. Because most of the time we can have a prototype in a certain country and there's a need in another country at the same topic. Then we always look at the context, what is necessary. And then we develop the prototype and adapt it to the local context. That's one way. And sometimes there's no solution or innovation at all. Like in Mongolia, the example in Mongolia, and then we just put in our technology and our knowledge to develop new innovations and new services. So it can be both. It can be bottom up, totally new, or it can be a prototype that we adapt to the local context. Maybe for now, I want to invite you to chat further with us in the virtual drink we have after the session. Or if you have questions, you can always come to us by email, and our presentation will be shared after this meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Roelinde and Mathilde, for sharing your information and case studies. Now, we've gained some new knowledge here, and it's time to get to work with this information we just gathered. And for that, we have invited Iskander Tanga from Fronteer to help facilitate the next interactive part of the session. Iskander, over to you.
Hi, thank you very much, Sandra. Can you all hear me? Yes, I see nodding faces. Perfect. Let me share my screen with you guys for a moment. Give me a second. And if I'm correct, you see a blue screen right now? Yes? Okay. So, hello and good afternoon, guys. Hi, my name is Iskander, and I work as a strategist at Fronteer. And today I have the chance to tell a bit about our company and my experience with building coalitions, and to host a brief workshop exercise with you guys. We're really strict on time, so I'm gonna get right to it. So welcome. To start off, this is Fronteer. We're a creative strategy firm from Amsterdam, and we help companies with innovation. And in total, we're with a team of 25 with mixed backgrounds, from strategic product designers to anthropologists, and from marketeers to art historians. And basically, in our team, we have two blood types. On the one hand, we have the strategist, and on the other hand, we have the connectors. The strategists, like me and my colleague Bobko, who's also here today, are responsible for the strategy development of the project. And our connectors are responsible for finding the right experts, the best experts for every project. Because even though we like to think that we're pretty smart, we also believe that most of the smart people work for somebody else. So basically we say we use co-creation to develop clear strategies and inspiring concepts for our clients. And in the 10 years time that we exist, we've developed our own methodology to do this. And previously it used to be mainly physical workshops and physical co-creation, but thanks to, or due to Corona, I must say, we now are doing our project with online co-creation, and that's what we're going to do today as well. But let me briefly explain what we do. So 50 strategy projects a year. We work in all kinds of industries, from automotive industries in the mobility sector to the big brands in fast-moving consumer goods. We're active in educational educations, and we formulate new educational programs. And sometimes we even do a bit of out-of-the-box projects. Like last year for Eurovision, we co-created with 100 people from the Netherlands the new strategy for Eurovision. And last but certainly not least, we're also active in the NGO world. Here you see an image of a project that we did for MSF. If you look at this, at the screen, you can basically say that we're active in all kinds of industries except tobacco and weapons, because we truly believe that business can be a force for good. So every project we try to let the client do something good, or we help clients that are already doing something good according to the SDGs. And something that I quickly want to add to this group as well is that since this year we're a B Corp, and that's something that we're very proud of. Well, one of the things that we're working on is trying to solve the big challenges that are out there. So when you're talking about, for example, global warming or reducing poverty in the world, those are really big challenges. And we think you can't do it on your own. You definitely can't solve it just by yourself. So we like to create coalitions. And that's also the theme of today's presentation, or today's Focal Point Café. We asked you, what's your experience with coalitions in this group? So as a result, we see that 40% of you have experience with formulating or forming coalitions. And we also asked you what are the biggest challenges that you met with formulating or working in coalitions. And that's actually quite interesting. So I want to give them briefly back to you. So one of the things I heard is selecting the right partners in your coalition is very important. And how do you find a common interest, and how do you understand all these different interests of the different actors in the coalition? And of course, when you speak different languages and have different values, how can you work together as a team and exchange information and know about each other's capacity if you're not open to it? And lastly, making it concrete and actionable is definitely a challenge that we also face with our coalitions that we form. And I just want to give you one example, at least, of a coalition that we worked on. That's the coalition that we concluded last year, a project that we did, which is called Ons Bos, which means Dutch for our forest. And it was a coalition initiated by Shell, Rabobank and Staatsbosbeheer. And the challenge was, how can we scale up the reforestation in the Netherlands? And during this project, we started expanding the coalition step by step by talking to potential partners. And in total, 8 big Dutch companies joined this coalition. And in a co-creative process, we worked together on formulating potential ideas, designing concepts, and also talking about the routes to take. So what we notice is when you follow a process like that, a co-creative process, all partners become owners of the project and the end goal. And the result has been an online platform for reforestation where consumers and companies can tap into. And yeah, one of the most important things is that we designed a clear goal for this coalition. So the goal was, how can we double the amount of forest in 1 generation? That's the goal. And in a final meetup with all the CEOs of the big companies, we endorsed this goal, and we also aligned on next steps to follow. And I strongly believe that has been an important step of this coalition track. And I'd like to tell you more about the next example that I have, but I also have to look at the time, and we are on a strict schedule here. So we're planning to do a bit of co-creation work with you as well. So let's get to work, I would say. With today's challenge, and today's challenge is we're gonna write a recipe for a successful coalition by formulating 5 golden rules. And I always like it that we give a bit of homework to grown-ups. We gave you guys a homework question to prepare. You had to think about an example of an inspiring coalition or partnership. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna work in subgroups through Zoom. We're gonna put you in different groups, and we're gonna send you a link to an online workplace we're gonna collaborate on. This is called Mural. And for the people that are not familiar with Mural, it looks like this. And sorry, I hear somebody talking, but so this is Mural, and what I actually would like to explain is that this is one big canvas that we're all gonna stand around. So picture an online canvas where we're gonna stand around, and in the canvas you can zoom into. So you can move your cursor and you can zoom into the place that you're gonna collaborate on with your subgroup. So we gonna divide you in different subgroups with different colors. They will also be shown in Zoom. And you see the different colors, and you see the first name of the group is the timekeeper and moderator of the group. And when you're on the canvas, zoom to the corresponding canvas that you're gonna work on. So for example, if you're Matilda and you're looking for your group, then it's the color blue. And you're gonna zoom in there, and you're gonna work on the canvas with your group. So we're gonna the first step is we're gonna share the examples that we thought of. We're gonna discuss them briefly with each other, and you're gonna think about what makes it good. And then the second step is we're gonna formulate the golden rules for a successful coalition.